Hello there, viewers. Nigel Farage. A day after winning the Broadcaster of the Year award or Newsreader of the Year, God knows how he did that, but it's fun, it's entertaining, he's entertaining if nothing else. A day later he tells us all that he's had all his bank accounts closed down or frozen. He says people are trying to get him out of the country. They want to cancel him. Well, I think we now know why. I think it all stems from a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you remember hearing it. He suggested in the media that himself and Boris Johnson could form another party to try to beat the Conservatives and Labour. That was after Boris Johnson, did he lose his seat in Parliament or was barred from Parliament for all the wrongdoings that he's done? I think he's walked away from the Conservatives, I might be wrong. Anyway, Nigel suggested at the time that him and Boris could form a new party. I don't think that went down so well with the powers that be. I mean, Nigel, you have had a few harebrained ideas in the past. You had one once a few years ago, I seem to remember, about us leaving Europe. We've been in Europe for years. That was never going to happen, was it? Maybe it did. Anyway, that's by the by. You're renowned for thinking outside the box. I think this time you've been thinking outside your brain because news has broke overnight. I've read it in my newspaper today, and I'll read it to you. You won't believe this. It's crazy. He's put together the party, the ideal party that he'd like to run the country, and he's named some names, and some of them are just unbelievably bad, I would suggest. He's even brought in people from the entertainment background. He's brought in people from all different political parties, which I half get that because he was from UKIP, Boris was from Conservative, so there's two parties. But he's brought Labour. I'll tell you who he's brought in. This is his ideas for the new party, and it's crazy. Boris would be the Prime Minister, should they ever get in. That goes without saying. The Chancellor would be, who is the worst, ladies and gents, you could think of in the last 20 years? I'll bet you'd all say Kwasi Kwarteng, because he's completely put us on our knees. That's who they're going to bring in. They bring him in because Nigel has been speaking to him, and he's come up with a new cunning plan, as Baldrick would say, and Nigel's got every faith in him. The Foreign Secretary, it gets even worse. This is how out of touch Nigel is. He was looking at Enoch Powell. Enoch's been dead for 20 odd years, Nigel. You need to do your research, man. And imagine Enoch Powell working with all governments of the world on all creeds and colours. That'd never work. Home Secretary. I don't think he has what an Home Secretary does. He's thinking of Sue Nichols. Audrey Roberts. Because she was Secretary to Reginald Perrin. And he thought she was good at the job. Home Secretary, Sue Nichols. She's riddled with arthritis and she cuts hair nowadays. Sue Nichols, I don't get that at all. Secretary of State for Defence. Going for entertainment. He was going for sport. Tyson Fury. And you know what he's what's it called? He's behind that. What did he say about him? Tyson Fury. Nobody can lay a glove on him. He'd be ideal for us. Tyson Fury, Secretary of Defence. I mean, he's not in a fight for a year or two. He's probably after a job, but Deputy PM would be himself, Farage, because he said if ever there becomes another wave of COVID, but worse than the last, a really bad strain, and it put us all in lockdown again, and Boris was in lockdown like the rest of us, and he went to some parties he shouldn't attend when we're in lockdown, and he gets poorly again, and he has to spend another couple of weeks in hospital with our already overstretched national health. Nigel could step in for him, so he'd be Deputy PM. Foreign Minister for Iraq, Tony Blair. Iraq! That's not hard to work, is it? This is the best of the lot. Secretary of State for Transport. You'll never guess who he's picked. It's unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He's got something about ex-Prime Ministers, I think. He'd have Blair in there. He'd have Boris in there. He wants Mark Thatcher in there. Now, most of you don't know Mark Thatcher. He's Maggie's son. But he's put a caveat on it. He says he wants Mark Thatcher in there, Secretary of State for Transport, but at the bottom he's put, but he mustn't be allowed the keys to any vehicle whilst we're in power. What's he put? He said because last time he had the keys to a vehicle, he got lost in the Sahara for 6 days. His mum thought he was dead. So he's not allowed keys to any vehicle. He's got to be drove around at all times. And that means even in Great Britain, he doesn't want him to have keys for anything. Yeah, he's going to let him run transport. I don't get it. Is it any wonder they want you out the country, Nigel? Honestly, Your out of Europe thing was a bit airbrained, but that party could never work. Could it? I mean, we have had some idiots in there the last 20 or 30 years. Some would say we've got some idiots in now. We've had some liars in there. We've had some cheats in there. You never know, maybe it would. I just can't see it. But anyway, that is why they're trying to get him out of the country, and I'm not surprised. Nigel, keep to news reading. That's what you're good at.